Power is never seized by accident. It is cultivated in silence. While fools announce their intentions to the world, the truly formidable operate beneath the surface, orchestrating victory through moves so subtle their enemies never see the trap being set. We shall examine the art of invisible dominance, 6 lethal strategies that have toppled kingdoms and built empires, all executed without a single word spoken in public. In Machiavelli's world, power was never loud. It was hidden, masked behind charm, diplomacy, and patience. He believed that a ruler, or any person seeking power, must never reveal the full picture of their intentions. Because once your enemies, rivals, or even allies can read your motives, you've already surrendered your advantage. The battlefield of politics, relationships, and ambition is not fought with swords. It's fought with information. And information is something you must never give away too easily. Think of your silence as a fog that confuses your enemies. They can see your outline, but not your next step. They guess, they whisper, they speculate. And in that chaos of uncertainty, you control the rhythm. This is the essence of Machiavellian concealment, to move while others are still trying to understand your direction. He once wrote that a ruler should appear open-hearted but remain unreadable. Show people just enough to make them feel they understand you, but never enough for them to actually know you. Because people do not fear what they can see. They fear what they cannot predict. Imagine you are in a negotiation. The other side talks endlessly, explaining, reasoning, revealing. You, however, speak little. You listen, you nod, you give away nothing. While they're trying to impress you, you are studying them. Their tone, their insecurities, their desires, all become visible while you remain a mystery. By the time they realize you've read their entire playbook, you've already won. This is why Machiavelli warned that openness can be fatal in power. When you speak too much, you arm others with knowledge about your plans. When you reveal your intentions too early, people begin preparing their defenses. But when you stay quiet, they grow restless, uncertain, even paranoid. They start reacting to things you haven't even done yet. That's how silence turns into control. Your restraint forces others into overreaction. A wise man once said, "He who shows his cards too soon invites war before his army is ready." The same principle applies to life. Whether in business, friendship, or love, concealment protects your strategy. You don't need to lie, you just need to withhold. Let them see the surface, your politeness, your composure, your apparent calm. But keep your true purpose buried deep beneath layers of silence. Even your closest allies should only know fragments, never the entire vision. Because, here's the truth Machiavelli understood better than anyone: people are naturally curious. When they can't figure you out, they start creating myths about you. And myths are powerful. They make others overestimate your strength, your intelligence, your reach. Soon, your silence becomes a story, one that works in your favor. They will treat you with caution, even fear, simply because they cannot predict what you might do next. But concealment is not just about hiding your plans. It's about mastering self-control. It's easy to boast when success is near. It's tempting to explain yourself when challenged. But the Machiavellian mind knows that power dissolves the moment you start justifying your actions. Never explain. Never defend. Every word you speak gives others a piece of your inner map. The less they know, the safer your empire remains. In the court of Florence, Machiavelli watched men rise and fall because of their tongues. He saw noblemen who boasted of their alliances, only to be betrayed. He saw commanders who revealed their strategies, only to lose their armies. And he learned that silence, patience, and concealment were sharper than any blade. A man who controls his speech controls his destiny. A ruler who hides his hand rules longer. Concealment, then, is not cowardice. It is the art of staying unseen until the strike is inevitable. So, when you walk into the world, remember this: never show your full map. The fewer people who know your direction, the harder it is for anyone to block your path. Let them see movement but not motive. Let them feel your presence but not your plan. Because in the game of power, those who speak less always see more. In Machiavelli's world, influence was never about commanding armies or raising your voice. It was about guiding others toward your desired outcome, without them ever realizing it was your hand behind the curtain. True power, he believed, was the kind that moved unseen. Because once people know you're in control, they resist. But when they think it was their idea, they protect it as if it were sacred. To influence without exposure is to become the wind, invisible yet capable of shaping everything it touches. You don't shout, you whisper. You don't demand, you suggest. You don't fight for control. You let others hand it to you willingly. Machiavelli observed that rulers who acted openly often faced rebellion, but those who guided from the shadows faced obedience. He understood that influence works best when it hides behind illusion, when your presence is felt but never declared. Because exposure invites scrutiny, and scrutiny leads to vulnerability. Imagine you are in a meeting surrounded by ambitious minds, each trying to prove their brilliance. They argue, they fight for attention, each believing they're the smartest in the room. But you remain calm, quiet, deliberate. You plant a small idea, almost carelessly. You don't insist on it. You simply leave it there like a seed. And when others begin to echo your words, shaping them as their own, you smile silently. They believe they've created it, but in truth, you've guided the entire discussion without claiming a single victory. That is Machiavellian influence. The art of guiding others' desires so they serve yours. You're not forcing anyone, you're redirecting energy. You let people see what they want to see while you quietly orchestrate the play from behind the stage curtains. Your goal is not applause. Your goal is control without exposure. This principle can be applied everywhere, in leadership, politics, even personal relationships. When you lead, don't bark orders. Give direction so elegantly that others believe it was their own idea. When you want someone to act, let them feel the decision is theirs, because the greatest control is not over actions, but over belief. And when people believe they are free while acting according to your design, your power becomes absolute. Machiavelli knew this intimately. In the courts of Florence, he observed statesmen who destroyed themselves by craving credit for every achievement. They wanted to be seen. They wanted their names celebrated. And so their rivals began plotting against them, jealous, threatened, eager to cut them down. But the ones who moved quietly, the ones who advised from behind the throne, whose hands never touched the ink of official decrees, they survived. They prospered. They ruled from the shadows long after the visible rulers had fallen. To influence without exposure, you must master patience. Let the noise of others distract from your silence. People crave recognition. Let them have it. Let them bathe in the spotlight while you stand in the dark, watching, guiding, and preparing your next subtle move. Because when they fight for fame, you gain control. And when they tire from the spotlight's heat, you are already seated where decisions are made, unseen, but all-powerful. You see, influence is not about convincing. It's about shaping. A true Machiavellian never argues. He nudges, he aligns. He knows that arguing makes enemies, but quiet shaping builds followers who don't even realize they're following. Every word, every silence, every gesture becomes part of a web, invisible, intricate, and unbreakable. And by the time others realize they're trapped within it, the game has already been won. So learn this lesson. Don't chase the illusion of control that comes from shouting the loudest. The loud are predictable. The loud are easy to resist. But the silent influencer, the one who moves ideas through suggestion, manipulation of emotion, and timing, that is the person who truly governs. You don't have to sit on the throne to rule. You just need to make the one who does believe your thoughts are his own. Influence without exposure is the highest form of strategy. It requires discipline, emotional detachment, and mastery of perception. You must appear harmless, even modest, so no one suspects your depth. You must learn to praise others for the victories that you engineered. You must move people as if they were pieces on a board, gently, invisibly, without ever letting them see the hand that moves them. Because in the eyes of Machiavelli, those who control silently are not merely players in the game. They are the game itself. Machiavelli understood something most people never grasp: that silence is not absence. It is a weapon, a mask, and a mirror all at once. The world worships noise. People talk endlessly, trying to be seen, trying to prove their worth, trying to win arguments through volume. But in doing so, they expose everything: their fears, their weaknesses, their ambitions. A silent man, however, terrifies them, because they cannot read him, they cannot predict him, and in that uncertainty he becomes powerful. Strategic silence is not the silence of ignorance. It is the silence of dominance. It's the quiet that watches, studies, and learns while others bleed information through their tongues. When you remain silent, you force others to reveal themselves. They will talk to fill the void, to gain your approval, to prove their control. But what they're really doing is building your advantage piece by piece. Every word they spill becomes a brick in the wall you will later use against them. Machiavelli wrote that a ruler must speak rarely, but when he does, his words should carry the weight of command, because silence creates anticipation. It makes people lean in, desperate to hear what you might say next. They assign meaning to your stillness, even when you mean nothing by it. And that is the brilliance of it. You don't have to act. You only need to let their imagination do the work for you. Silence shifts the power dynamic in every situation. When two people argue, the one who stays calm and quiet is seen as the one in control. When everyone is panicking, the one who speaks least appears to have the answers. This is the psychology Machiavelli mastered, the ability to make others believe you hold the secret, simply because you do not rush to speak. The louder they grow, the stronger your silence becomes. But strategic silence is not about muteness, it's about timing. You speak when the room is desperate for your voice. Not before, not after. You choose your words like a surgeon chooses his cuts. Few, precise, devastating. Every moment of silence builds tension, and every word you speak after it lands like a hammer. That is how influence is built, not through constant noise, but through contrast. The stillness before the strike makes the strike unforgettable. Think about this in negotiation. Silence is the most uncomfortable sound in the world. After a proposal is made, most people rush to fill the space. They explain, they justify, they weaken their position. But the Machiavellian thinker waits. He lets the silence stretch. And in that uncomfortable pause, the other side breaks. They reveal more, they concede more. They rush to escape the pressure they created for themselves. That is not coincidence. That is strategy. The man who controls the silence controls the room. Machiavelli knew that speech reveals your limits. Every word gives others a glimpse into your thoughts, your desires, your plans. But silence reveals nothing. It gives you time to observe, to measure, to think. It turns chaos into data. And when the moment finally comes to speak, your words are sharper, clearer, more decisive, because they are born from calculation, not impulse. There is another dimension to strategic silence: fear. People fear what they cannot understand. When you withhold your opinion, when you remain calm in the face of provocation, they begin to wonder what you know that they don't. They start to fill the silence with their own doubts. Did he see through me? Does he have another plan? Is he waiting for something? That's how silence becomes psychological warfare. Your stillness forces others to fight battles within their own minds. And while they exhaust themselves in speculation, you stand untouched, watching. This is why Machiavelli advised leaders never to explain too much. Explanations make you appear defensive, and defensiveness makes you appear guilty. Let people question you. Let them guess. Your silence will make them believe you know more than you do. And soon, their assumptions will build a legend around you, one that serves you better than truth ever could. Strategic silence is self-control in its purest form. It requires restraint, patience, and the confidence to let others misunderstand you. You must learn to be comfortable with not being understood, with letting rumors circulate, with letting people underestimate you. Because every misunderstanding they create gives you a shield. They are fighting phantoms, while your real strategy unfolds elsewhere. To master silence is to master tension. Every pause you create is an invisible leash around the minds of others. They pull, they resist, they speak, but you remain unmoved. And that stillness, that patience, that refusal to reveal yourself, that is the art Machiavelli revered most. For the one who commands silence commands the world. Machiavelli once observed that the greatest power lies in composure, the ability to appear calm even when chaos rages within. He understood that a ruler or any strategist must wear serenity like armor, not because he feels peace, but because calmness confuses his enemies. While others are led by emotion, by anger, by fear, the Machiavellian mind remains still. It is this illusion of peace that gives him the power to strike with precision when the moment arrives. A narrator pauses, measured and quiet. To appear calm is to disarm your opponents. They expect aggression, they anticipate reaction. But when you show no agitation, when your face remains unreadable, they begin to second-guess themselves. They project their own fears onto your silence. They wonder, what is he planning? Why isn't he reacting? That uncertainty becomes your shield. It keeps you safe while you plan their downfall in perfect stillness. Because every emotion you display is information, and every outburst you allow is a weapon handed to your opponent. Machiavelli taught that control over self is the first step to control over others. Narrator's voice deepens. Steady, he knew that a ruler who loses his temper loses respect. Emotion makes you transparent. It reveals what provokes you, what frightens you, what drives you. The calm leader, however, becomes a mystery. His enemies cannot see his next move, and his allies cannot predict his limits. This uncertainty grants him leverage. It makes others walk carefully, afraid to trigger what they cannot read. But calmness alone is not the goal. It is the disguise. The true essence of Machiavellian mastery lies in the contrast between serenity and action. You must look peaceful while you prepare for ruthlessness. Patience, after all, is the mask of a predator waiting for the perfect moment. Think of it like this. A serpent in the sun appears still, almost harmless. Its stillness is not weakness. It is calculation. It studies, measures, and waits. And when the strike comes, it is not hesitant or emotional. It is fast, precise, lethal. That is how Machiavellian calmness works. You lull the world into believing you are harmless, detached, even indifferent. Then, when opportunity opens, you strike so decisively that no one has time to react. Machiavelli admired those who could hide their rage behind a smile. He believed that power belongs not to the man who shouts, but to the one who waits silently for his opponent to make the first mistake. And when that mistake appears, he must not hesitate. A slow strike is no strike at all. A ruthless strike, on the other hand, ends conflict before it begins. It teaches the world to respect your silence, not as weakness, but as the quiet before devastation. A narrator lowers tone, more intimate. To appear calm is also a form of deception. People trust those who seem composed. They come closer. They confess. They underestimate. And while they expose their secrets in your presence, thinking you are neutral, you are already piecing together their downfall. Your calmness becomes a trap, a velvet net in which they willingly entangle themselves. But this calmness must be genuine in discipline, not emotionless by nature. You will feel rage. You will feel insult. You will feel impatience, but you will not show it, because Machiavelli knew that emotions are meant to be used, not displayed. Use your anger to sharpen your focus. Use your fear to strengthen your caution, but never let either escape your control. When others are guided by their reactions, you must be guided by reason. And when it's time to strike, do not strike with warning. Do not explain. Do not negotiate. Your calmness has already set the stage. They believed you were harmless. They lowered their guard. They thought you would never fight back. That's when the blow must land. Sudden, precise, final. That's when your silence transforms into action, your peace into power. This is the essence of Machiavellian ruthlessness. Not cruelty for pleasure, but precision born from patience. A narrator's voice becomes darker, slower, because in this world, those who act out of emotion are always at a disadvantage. They reveal too soon. They act too early. They strike without aim. But the one who appears calm, who conceals his fire beneath layers of composure, will always strike last. And last strikes decide everything. Machiavelli understood that timing is the soul of power. To wait while others act blindly. To plan while others panic, to smile while others rage. That is how rulers outlive revolutions. So remember, calmness is not surrender. It is camouflage. Behind it lies the sharpest mind, the most calculated patience, and the readiness to end conflict in one ruthless motion. You do not win by reacting. You win by enduring, observing, and striking when your silence has built the perfect moment. Appear calm, even in chaos. Wait until your stillness becomes unbearable to those around you. And when they finally break, when their defenses are down, let your actions speak the truth your silence has been hiding. Machiavelli understood that one of the greatest arts in power is not speaking, but observing. He knew that in every conversation, people are desperate to reveal themselves. They want to be seen, to be admired, to feel superior. And in that hunger for validation, they expose their ambitions, their fears, their weaknesses. Everything you need to control them. So the Machiavellian strategist does not rush to speak. He waits. He listens. Because the more others talk, the more they betray their own mind. When you let others reveal themselves, you shift the power dynamic. They think they are leading the conversation, when in truth, you are. They speak endlessly, unaware that each word is another step into your web. While they're trying to impress you, you're collecting intelligence. Their stories tell you what they value. Their tone tells you what they fear. Their inconsistencies tell you what they hide. And with that information, you can predict their moves before they even make them. Machiavelli believed that every man shows his soul when he feels comfortable. And the most dangerous trap is to make others feel safe in your presence. Smile when they boast. Nod when they gossip. Let them think you're harmless, even dull. Because people reveal the most when they underestimate you. They will tell you things they would never tell an equal or a threat. And when they finally realize how much you know, it will already be too late. In the courts of Florence, Machiavelli learned this firsthand. He would watch noblemen and generals speak endlessly, trying to outshine one another in conversation. He would sit back, quiet, absorbing every detail. Their alliances, their rivalries, their insecurities. By the end of the evening, they knew nothing about him. Yet he knew everything about them. That was his weapon, the art of making others reveal themselves while remaining invisible. You see, most people mistake silence for weakness. They think the quiet man is passive, unaware, or intimidate. In every game of power, timing is the invisible weapon. To dominate silently, one must not only act wisely but also reveal wisely. The art of controlled revelation, knowing what to show and when to show it, separates the powerful from the reckless. This is where the true Machiavellian thrives, in the mastery of appearances. Machiavelli understood that perception creates authority, and mystery sustains it. When people cannot predict your next move, they respect you more, fear you more, and depend on your judgment because uncertainty makes them uneasy, and unease gives you leverage. Imagine two rulers. One reveals his every plan to gain applause, while the other conceals his intentions behind a calm smile. The first gets temporary admiration, but soon his moves become predictable and his weaknesses are exposed. The second, who reveals little, becomes an enigma. His silence breeds curiosity. His restraint creates myths around his intelligence. That's the essence of controlled revelation. Never let others see the full map of your mind. People can only attack what they can see. Machiavelli believed that power demands control not just over actions, but over the narrative surrounding those actions. It is not enough to do great things. One must shape how those things are perceived, and sometimes that means letting others fill the silence with their own interpretations. In doing so, they construct an image of you that often exceeds your own intention. Silence becomes your ally and mystery your armor. When people think you know more than you reveal, they treat you as if you are always a step ahead, and that illusion alone can rule them. Look at history's most formidable figures. Rulers, generals, statesmen, they all mastered this principle. They revealed enough to inspire trust, but withheld enough to maintain dominance. Julius Caesar was loved for his charisma, but even he concealed his ultimate ambition until the moment he crossed the Rubicon. Napoleon mastered his image, carefully releasing victories, concealing defeats. Even in modern times, the same principle persists. The most influential individuals are those who control what the world sees, curating fragments of truth, never the whole story. The essence of Machiavellian strategy is that too much transparency weakens you. People believe they crave honesty, but in truth, they crave certainty. They want to believe you are capable, stable, confident, and if you must reveal anything, reveal only what strengthens that belief. Conceal chaos, weakness, or doubt. Machiavelli once observed that men judge more by the eye than by the hand, meaning they care less about what is true and more about what appears true. If you can control appearances, you can control outcomes. So how does one master this power of controlled revelation? Begin by observing what others expect from you, and then reveal the minimal truth that satisfies them, while keeping your true intentions behind a veil. Let your silence do the speaking when words would betray your strategy. A pause, a delayed response, a half smile. These subtle gestures make others question what you truly know. Let them chase your approval. Let them interpret your silence as wisdom. The less they understand your intentions, the more powerful your presence becomes. In every negotiation, in every alliance, there is a moment when revealing too much becomes self-destruction. If you expose your desires too early, others manipulate them. If you reveal your fears, they become tools against you. If you show your plans, they can be blocked. But if you master the art of controlled revelation, you remain untouchable. You control the rhythm of the interaction, when to speak, when to retreat, when to surprise. And it is the surprise that gives you the final word in every conflict. Machiavelli would say, "Let your face reveal calm, while your mind races with 100 calculations." That is how rulers outlive revolts, how generals win wars before they're fought, and how wise men keep their influence long after their power fades. Your silence must never seem empty. It must radiate purpose. Let others feel that behind your quiet lies strategy. Let them sense that your smile hides a plan. When they cannot read you, they cannot resist you. And in that confusion, you rule not through words, but through presence, the purest form of silent domination. The silent moves that dominate are not born from luck, nor from charm. They are crafted through discipline, calculation, and self-mastery. Machiavelli's strategy reminds us that power is not taken by noise, but by precision. The loud man declares his intentions. The wise man hides them beneath still waters. Those who rule the world are not those who shout the loudest, but those who act when no one is watching. Through patience, restraint, and observation, The Machiavellian mind sees what others miss. It reads fear behind smiles, ambition behind flattery, betrayal behind kindness. Every silence becomes a weapon, every hesitation a trap. The true player in the game of power does not react, he orchestrates. And when the time comes, he strikes with the confidence of someone who has already won the battle in his mind long before it unfolds in the world. In a world obsessed with attention, the one who can remain composed, unreadable, and deliberate becomes untouchable. For silence is not the absence of power, it is its most refined form. When your actions speak louder than your words, when your calm unsettles others, and when your restraint exposes their weakness, you are no longer playing the game of power, you are defining it. Machiavelli would whisper across time, control what you reveal, understand what you conceal, and never let your enemies read the map of your mind. Because the greatest victory is not in being seen as powerful, it is in being silently obeyed.